Welcome back. Here we are with the with Monty's Humber, the Airfix kit, 30-second scale, and this is my beginner's guide to modelling with a few hints and tips. If you are a true beginner, there's probably going to be some better ones for you to watch. The Willys Jeep build I did a couple of weeks ago, or last week was it, that's probably an easier kit for you to build if you fancy having a go at something and building along with me. This is not a particularly easy kit, only because it's very old. Old mould tool technology, worn moulds. So yeah, there's been a few bits and pieces, but the good thing about this build, in these 14 parts, I've managed to come across some issues that we come across with a few kits these days, and sort of fit issues and fitting and how to get around, you know, adding this ridge in the middle of the bonnet. I mean, there's a seam down the middle of the body here, it's in two halves, and we've got rid of that, and then doing the seam around the boot lid and using alcohol to sort that out. But basically now we've, as you know, we've fitted the mirrors and fitted the lights and everything, and thank you very much to Ian, who corresponded with me via email. We've now decided that this rear light should not be painted as a light at all, it should just be green. We found some, well, he found some pictures and sent them to me, and basically you can't see any colours on there whatsoever, so we've basically decided that it's probably a blackout light with a flip up lid, so it just would have been, for all intents and purposes, just would have been green. The roof, as you remember, I cut about the back window and made that fit properly. I've now masked that. I've painted inside and painted around the edges, and then what I can do is actually fit it to the model and weather it on the model rather than handle it after it's weathered. These canvas lids in plastic are always sort of a little bit difficult to replicate, but I'm going to do the best I can with it. And what I'm going to do, I've painted it in XF49 Tamiya khaki, thin with Mr. Colour levelling thinners, and what I'm going to do now is just put a wash in it. So I've got an old Tamiya paint pot here. I've got some lighter fuel, and I'm going to put some lighter fuel in there, and then I've got my brown, this is burnt umber oil paint, and I'm just going to put a dab of this on the brush, not very much at all, just enough to just colour and make this into a brown wash, as you can see. And then what I can do is literally just brush this all over this roof, and what it will do, it will stain it and give it a darker colour and go into all the edges. Add some more lighter fuel. The beauty of using lighter fuel instead of enamel thinners or anything is it dries so fast. It does dry extremely quickly. So there we go, you can see it sort of puddles. You need to make sure you hold it flat because it will puddle, you know, or run down because of the way you're holding it. And as I said, we've got hair there. It's probably a hair off a cotton bud or something. As I said, we want to just spread it all around and make sure we get all the little corners and nooks and crannies. And there we go. Just make sure it all stays wet, and then you won't get any brush marks in like I've got there. And there we go. And then if I want to, I can take a cotton bud, remove some of it, and there we've got our, basically we've got the finish we're looking for inside the roof. Now, as I say, this is inside. I won't be doing this on the outside. It's just a quick, using lighter fuel is great for like doing tracks. Now, if you've done, if you've built plastic tracks, you will know, and you've tried to weather them with oils, you will know from rough experience that basically the thinners will attack the joints in the tracks and make them fall apart. Lighter fuel doesn't tend to do that. Don't take my word for it, try it at first, but I've done it. I've used lighter fuel on plastic glued together tracks and it didn't attack them at all. I did a Matilda with a Tamiya Matilda with the Lincoln length tracks, glued them all together and that, weathered them with some oils, and they just fell apart. So there we go. There's that roof. That's the effect we're looking for. And when we look at it from inside, it'll just look like it's a bit used, a bit tarnished. It's just giving it a bit of interest, really. Right, so now that's dried. That's had about 15 minutes, and you can see how sort of effective it looks. You can rub it with your finger if you want to. If there's any sort of brush strokes like you've got there, just rub it with your finger before it fully dries out, and you can see some of it's coming off. And it's, you know, like I say, the beauty of using lighter fuel is it just dries out so fast. And I got this off of this tip off of Seb, Dutch modeler. I noticed he had lighter fuel on his bench, and I asked what he used it for, and he said it was for making a quick wash. So yeah, and then I asked him about the fact of it attacking. If you go on to, you've got the Pricks of Plastic Friday night thing. It runs at the same time as the ISM one, so it's a bit unfortunate that sometimes you want to watch both and you can't. So you watch one live and watch one on afterwards. But yeah, and I just asked him in the comments, the comment section down the right hand side, and or the live chat, should I say. And he showed me there and then it doesn't attack the track. So I tried it, and sure enough, it doesn't. Not like enamel thinners does anyway. So that's the inside of that done. So what I want to do now is give it a dry brush. So I'm going to get some Humber enamel, and this one is a satin, which is a shame. I'd rather use matte. But what else have I got here? Do I have any matte lighter colours? I think this one here may be more suitable. You can see most of these Humber colours I've got are way over 10 years old, so just proves that they last. I mean, that one, the lid wasn't even fitted properly. And then what I'm going to do is get an old cloth, get an old brush. This is the brush I was using just now with the I'm going to just get some of the stuff at the bottom. Get the brush nice and wet. This is one of the problems people don't do on a dry brushing. You always get the brush nice and wet first, and then clean the brush off. Otherwise, it just doesn't last. The idea is you're getting the whole brush wet and then drying the whole brush out. If you only get a tiny bit of the brush wet, then it won't work. So just going to try it on my finger first, make sure not too much comes off, and then just gently, I'm just going to gently brush over, and it will start to highlight the edges. Like I say, very gently brushing over, and it's just going to start to highlight the framework in there and pick up on any texture or anything. I've got a couple of witnesses of ejector pin marks in there. I'm going to stay away from them because obviously I don't want to pick up on them in the detail. And you can see there that all we've done there is just picked up the frame detail and made it pop a bit. There we go. So there you have it. Job done. Looking lovely. Okay, so it's time to get the body painted, and obviously to do that I need to first of all do some masking. I notice I haven't fitted the windscreen, I haven't fitted the glass in here, and I haven't fitted the steering wheel. Reason for that is I need to mask this off before I can do any painting, but I need to make sure I get the paint on the edges all the way around. So what I'm going to do is mask it from inside, and I'm going to use cheap masking tape. And I'm just going to take short pieces like so and place it inside the body like that, and then I can use a cotton bud and just dab it in like that. Okay, doesn't need to be in there absolutely solidly and rubbed into all the corners and everything. It just needs to be in there just to make sure we get some sort of protection to stop the paint blowing in. Alright, and I'm using this masking tape rather than the Tamiya tape. A, it's cheaper, B, it's not as sticky, so it's less likely to pull parts off, it's less likely to pull any paint off where there wasn't any primer, or things weren't quite as good as they could have been. So it's a good way. It's a good way of masking. The other thing you could do, of course, is just shove it full of foam like you would with an aircraft cockpit. But the problem there is you need to make sure you get these edges covered. And here I want to make sure I get paint along this back edge, because I don't want the grey plastic to show through. So I'm going to make sure the masking tape is folded down there. But what I'll do before I do anything like that, I'll put a piece in here. And I'm putting it around the steering column and just pushing it in. Quite often it wants to stick to your fingers rather than the model, because there's more surface area on your finger than you've got on the model. So now that I've got that like that, I can just fold that down, pinch it together. As you can see here, as long as I don't get the airbrush down in there, I'll be absolutely fine. Do just pushing that up a touch, to be honest. But as long as I don't aim the airbrush in there, I'll be fine. Just go across here vertically, and it will make sure we get paint on that edge so we don't get the grey plastic showing through. And on the back here I can do the same again, just fold that over, pinch that together like so, fold that over, just like you're wrapping up a present for someone. And you can see there I've exposed the corner of that seat. Okay, so I want to cover that up. So I'm going to get a piece of masking tape, place it over like that. Now bear in mind, this area here is going to be very difficult to see on the finished model, so don't be too fussed about the back of that seat being all perfectly masked and everything. As long as it's got something on it to cover it, so when you look through the back window it's not all green, that's fine. But I mean, this area here will be completely covered. That's where the roof will be glued on. You're hardly going to see this unless you actually look back in and down. So yeah, it's all good. And then I'm just going to get a couple of pieces of masking tape. Remember, this is glued side to gluey side to gluey side now, so they're going to stick really, really well. So just like that. And this is just to protect it from any overspray or anything. Careful not to break those mirrors off as well, I keep knocking them. And there we go, that's the inside masked up, and we're ready to paint the outside now. So I'm going to get the outside airbrushed. Oh, I need to mask these wheels up as well. And all I'm going to do is just get some masking tape like this, a length like that, bend it over my finger, put it over the hub, pinch, job done. Same on this side, put it over my finger, pinch the bottom together. Nope, that hasn't gone so well because I didn't do it long enough. Let me go on and get this all masked up, painted, and then I'll be back. Okay guys, so here you can see I've got it on a turntable, and what I've done, I've gone around all the areas that needed touching in underneath, gone around the edges of all the wheel arches and everything. And now I've got it on this paper towel on a turntable in the spray booth, and I can now hold the paper towel, lift it up, and the model will stick to the paper towel, so I can tip it on all sorts of angles, and it also protects the turntable. And now I can spray in all side, and I'm not going to do it on camera because I don't want to. I'm using Mr. Cut 11 thinners, and I want to be in the booth with a mask. So I'm not going to show you how I spray this, but I can show you this is the method I'm using. And making sure I get into all the nooks and crannies first before I start to give the whole thing a coat of paint. Okay, so that's all painted now, and I wait for that to dry, give that an hour or so to dry, and then I'm going to give it a coat of gloss varnish and particularly concentrate in the areas where the decals are going. The reason I'm going to give it a gloss varnish is just to make it a bit tougher, a bit more resilient, because I want to give it a wash and some dry brushing and stuff. And then I can give it a matte varnish after the decals are gone. It'll all look like one then. One of the problems with using wash on matte paint is it's like on here, you saw it sort of soaks in and it absorbs it, whereas if you put it onto gloss it just goes into the corners and doesn't stay on the flat surfaces. One other thing I want to point out, I've given this a coat of matte varnish now and remove the masking from the inside. If you watch my other builds, you'll notice I always tend to go around with a black marker before I put my clear parts in, and on this one I forgot. And look what happens. You can see there that if you can pick that up, you can see the grey plastic. There's a grey strip across the bottom there. That's the grey plastic showing through the clear. Now if I'd done that with the magic marker, that would look black. So that's one of the problems. Now I've gone round at the black wash and I can't make it soak in, so that grey now is there forever. I can't get rid of it unless I mask and just paint over it with brown, but then I'll be able to see the brown will look through the back, I think. So we'll have a look at that afterwards, see what it's like, but I don't think it's going to notice because it's going to be sort of way inside there anyway. We'll see how we get on. So so there we go, guys. I've got to leave everything now for a little while to dry, then give it a gloss coat, and then I'll come back. There you go, guys. There's your glossy Humber. That's how some people choose to restore them. I've actually seen glossy Jeeps, and yeah, I'm not a big fan, but I like things to be absolutely dead flat. My Jeep will certainly be absolutely dead flat. I've given the little general signs there, I guess that's what they're saying, the a gloss coat, just to sort of bring them up a bit. I'll give them a dry brush after, and just to make sure the colours match, I've gloss coated the outside of the window frame just in case there's a tonal change with the gloss coat. I've also painted the roof now. I've used cellulose thinners in XF49 Tamiya, and that makes sure it really does key in very well. When you see my video about spraying paints and different thinners and this, that and the other, you'll see what I mean. So I need to let all this go off now, and then I'll get the decals on, so I'll be a few hours, but a few seconds for you. Okay, so here we go. The gloss coat hasn't become very glossy. It's sort of, I probably painted it on too quick, so what I've just done is gone round and just polished up a couple of areas just to get them a bit smoother, and guess what, on the fender here I went through, so yeah, great. So we're going to put the decals on now, but I'm not going to apply that one, which is the yellow number 2 there. So I'm going to get rid of that one. So let's just get these decals cut off of the paper. And this isn't like the old Airfix, well, like all old kits. The decals used to be in like one piece of carrier film. So we can get rid of that one there. And because this is such a simple set, I'll cut the decals out, and I'm going to get rid of those numbers. For some reason I've got the shakes today. I don't know why. No reason for it whatsoever. But can't let it stop can't let it stop progress, can we, guys? So I'm just going to cut those out. Stick that one in a box because I'm not going to be using it. So we've got those 2 there. We got this one here, that's okay, and then we've got the 2 number plates. They can go in together. We'll get rid of that number 7. Always cut the numbers off your decals, guys, because those little numbers aren't actually decals, and they will come off the paper, float around and sort of get underneath your decals and stuff. You just want to get rid of the numbers and not have them there. I'll leave those 2 numbers on them because they look the same. No, they don't. What am I talking about? One's 485 and one's M239. So there we go. So we've got all those separated now. So what I'll do is I'm going to do these 2 ones down the side of the bonnet first. So I'm just going to dip them in the water for a few seconds and then put them down there. I don't need my scissors anymore. I need a cotton bud, and I'm going to be using good old micro sole, putting these decals on to make sure they go down nicely. I made this little stand here, 2 1-inch holes and a hole for the brush. Always try and use the same brush for your set and sole. If you end up using a brush with acrylic thinners or something on it, you'll destroy your decals in no time at all. And it looks like they're taking a bit of a while to soak up the water there. So find a pair of tweezers here. Just going to give them another little soak. Let's that hair come back again. It must be a piece of plastic string because it's long and grey, and I don't have grey hair and I don't have long hair, In fact, I don't have hair. So let's just get those two going there. Yeah, and they're ready to go now. So I'm going to get my micro set and just put a couple of drips on here where the decal's going to go along the edge of the bonnet there, the edge of the hood if you're in America. So I'm just going to pick this up, and then I can use my brush to just move that roughly into place like so, and then the same on the other side. Get some more micro set on there. Like so. There we go. Get rid of that piece of paper, and I can just move these around. I'm going to use my tweezers, and that's got to sit like that, just on the edge. I don't want to push it down too far because it'd be asking the carrier film to go into that raised detail on the side there, and I don't want to run the risk of having silvering, so we'll have it like that. These were actually painted on with stencils anyway, so they wouldn't have been absolutely perfect, but we may as well get them nice for our model. Now, I don't know what these decals are like. I haven't used Airfix decals for a long time, but they certainly don't seem too thick or anything. So there we go. I'm just going to roll that along there to remove excess moisture, and the same there. So that's done, and then as it says on the instructions, another drop of micro set over the top like so, and then just leave that to dry. Then we're going to do number plates, or license plates you should call them in the States. Slide those on with a finger, bit of final positioning, there we go, that's that in place. Cotton bud over the top. Oops, it's moved. As I say, we don't have a very glossy finish now, because I think it's because I sprayed the gloss on too quick, and it's probably sort of sunken into the paint, into the matte paint below it, so we've got a kind of semi-gloss finish, if you like. So I'm just going to put some more micro set on there and let that one go, and then drop a micro set on the back, and slide the decal off onto there, get rid of the paper, position it, get it in place, cotton bud, roll over the top, and it's moved. And there we go. The actual photographs I've seen that Ian sent me, it looks like the kit is possibly wrong, or depicts a different period than the photograph showed, because on the number plates they actually had the insignia, and also the license, the serial number, and also the red badges, the star badges were in the middle, so not off to one side. So that's that done. Now there's this serial number here which goes on the back, which is in 2 halves, so I'm going to get that one in the water. Then there's this white badge going to go on that front, so we'll get that one in the water, and there's a red badge going on the back there. So and you can see here they've shown the light as being red, and it shouldn't be. It should be matte green, they're the same as the rest of the vehicle. So not sure if they're getting ready to go yet. No. So I'll get these on, and then I'll come back. It's pointless you watching me wait for these decals to get themselves sorted. Right, so now they're all on, and they're all sort of dried off, and and good to go. Just going to give that one a little dab just to dry it out a bit. That front bumper keeps curling up, so we'll have to imagine it's bent, I guess. So now what I'm going to do is just go over each decal with some micro sole, and that will settle them down. Not 100% necessary, because none of these, other than that red badge on the boot, the trunk, are none of these are actually going over any uneven surfaces at all. I'm not going to chance putting this this one on the front, because that paint's still going to be quite soft and it may be affected by the microsole and set. So there we go. So they're all on now. I don't remember putting any microsole on that number plate. As I say, the only one that's actually got to go down over anything is this red badge here. There's like a bracket or something. That one's actually on an angle, isn't it? I need to move that round. Here we go. Glad I noticed that before it settled down. So there we go. All the decals are on. So now we can start looking at getting this roof done. Okay, so you can see I've painted the roof. I used XF49 with cellulose thinners, so it's really sort of bitten well into the plastic. And what I'm going to do is get a lump of blue tack and stick it on the inside, so I've got something to hold. Here we go. No, it's not sticking on there very well at all. So let's just push this down a bit firmer, give it a bit of a bigger surface area, like so. It doesn't want to stick to that Tamiya matte varnish. Isn't that strange? So hopefully it'll be on there, stay on there good enough. So I've got some, this is filter. This is by Sin. It's very, very old. I think it's broken down, actually, to be quite honest with you. But basically it's just it's dirty thinners, basically. So I'm just going to brush this all over, and this will go into all the nooks and crannies, and it will kind of just pick up very, very slightly. It's like filter is like a very, very thin wash. You can make it yourself. It's just like 95% thinners and 5% paint, and you can get them in sets, but really you can make them yourself. It's just enamel thinners and paint, as I say, whatever colour you want. If you want to do something nice on a German grey vehicle, use a dark blue. That looks very good, but it needs to be like literally, 98% thinners, 2% paint. And here I'm not flooding it, but I'm just making sure everything is wet. And then what will happen is that'll dry, and the brown that's in it will be attracted. You can see it's starting to happen already. It'll be attracted into the stitching and the shapes there. Okay, so I'll let that go off for a few minutes. The only beauty of these filters, they dry matte, so you don't have to worry about starting to get glossy or anything. So just leave that like that for a minute, and that'll dry out. That's the filter set there. These are probably 8 or 9 years old, and to be honest, like I said, I think they've broken down. I think they've had it. Okay, so decals are all dried out now. I put that number 2 on the front and the end. That needs a little bit of work, that one, guys, if you're building this model, because obviously it's compound curves and it just wants to wrinkle up, so you will need some decal setting solution to make that one go down. I've also chipped the paint there, and I've also noticed that on this roof the paint is rubbing off wherever I'm touching it, so I don't know what's going on. This model is just trying to get me at the moment. So time to give it a pin wash now on the outside, just to pick up all these panel lines. So what I'm going to do now is I've got a black wash here, and I've got a brush which has got a piece of fluff on the end of it. Everything is going wrong today. Everything I touch is going wrong. So got the wash here, and I'm just going to literally touch it into the panels, and it should wick along like so. What you can do if you want to make it wick a bit faster is just go over it first with some thinners, some enamel thinners, and it will wick a lot easier. But I'm not going to do that. I can't be bothered. And I've got a piece of dust in the paint there, I can see. So I'm going to try and flick that out. There we go. Another piece there. That's just resting on it, that's not in the paint. So there we go, we've got a panel line wash going in here now. I'm just going to touch it on there, touch it there, and it should join up. It's not joining up very well at all, I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's such a big panel, such a wide panel line. But I'll show you afterwards. It's no problem to get rid of the mess that's left behind. That will be easy. I'll just put some in around these hinges. Yeah, it's not running at all. It's very strange. It went around that panel okay, look. Yeah, I think maybe I should have put some thinners on here first, but they should eventually join up. There we go. So I'll just go on and do that on all the panels, and then I'll show you how I clean it up. Okay, so now it's time to clean up and get rid of the excess. What I've got here in this upside down paint pot is a drop of odourless thinners. So you can use enamel thinners. I wouldn't recommend using turpentine because it's very very powerful and it may damage the plastic. So I'm just going to take just remove some of the excess off the brush there, and then just go around and just brush away where the excess wash is. And you can see here, just go along and it just takes it off straight away. It removes the excess from around the area you don't want it. This isn't the best of brushes to be doing this with, but I tend to keep all my brushes that I'm going to use with enamels separate from the brushes I'm going to use with acrylics. Okay, and then you can also, if you want to, you can manipulate it, move it about, pull the wash around. If you want it to look like an oil stain, you can make it look like an oil stain, and then just periodically dry the brush off and then remove any excess thinners that you may have put on there, like so. So it's this is where the artistry comes into modelling. Is where you're going to be using your oil paints and stuff, and this has gone off a bit drier here, so I can sort of afford to brush this around a bit. I'm not worried too much about the what's down in the groove, because it's pretty much dried out. But try not to rub along the groove, try and rub across it. It's not always easy, especially in places like that where that mud guard is. But there you go, you can see there it's there's your finished effect, and those oil marks will disappear. Just get a little bit more on there, dry the brush out, and there you can see it's all coming away. And just leaving the wash down in. You can actually do this after about an hour. You can do it. You can. You don't have to do it straight away. In fact, it's best to leave it a bit longer, if you can, to let it dry in there a bit. But there we go. And as I say, those oil marks will disappear as they dry out. If they don't, you can just get some more thinners on a brush or on a cotton bud, wipe it over, and they'll be gone. So I'll get on and get this side done now, and I'll be back in a second. Right then, fans, I think it's about time we got these wheels on, and then we can get a coat of matte varnish on, I think. So get my extra thin over in this little holding pot, and then I'm just going to put a little dab of glue in the centre there, The wheels are supposed to turn, but I don't really care if they do or not, to be honest. I'm more interested in having them all, you know, straight and parallel and everything, rather than being able to have them turn. I don't need to roll it around the floor making brum brum noises like I do with my aeroplanes in the air. No, I don't really. I just do it when on the table. I like to make airplane noises with airplanes like they're taking off. Any man that says he doesn't, I think, is a liar. So, need to drop more glue in that one. It just fell straight off again. As I say, everything that can go wrong today is going wrong. I really shouldn't be doing any modelling at all, because there we go. That took a few attempts to get some in there. Yeah, I really shouldn't be doing any modelling at all, because basically everything is going wrong. So there she is. She's sat on her wheels finally, and it looks like, yep, she's sitting on all four as well by the look of it, so that's cool. So there she is, guys. We're getting there. We're on the home straight. And what I need to do now is give this thing a coat of matte varnish, but I don't want to do that yet because the oils are still a bit damp. But I think now you can get an idea of how she's going to look. We put the roof on like that. It's going to look absolutely lovely. Hang on, was that a very good shot? I don't think it was it? There we go. So now you can see how she's going to look with the roof on. So yeah, looking lovely. I'm really pleased with how it's come out. It's been a lot of work though, and it's been a long hard journey, but I think you'll agree it's worth it in the end. Right then, guys, those wheels are set now. I've got to wait for these oils to dry before I can put a matte coat on there, and I'm also going to seal this in as well. It would appear that these Tamiya paints are being affected by the oil, making them easy to rub off. I put some oil on some weather on one of these tyres, and it's just, I'm able to just rub the black paint off with my finger. It's very strange. I've never known it before. So anyway, at the beginning of this video, part 14, I said this will be the end. Not sort of realising how much we've actually still got to do. I mean, I've still got to matte coat it. I've got to fit the windows, fit the roof, finish weathering the roof. I've got to put the badges on with the stars, fit the windscreen, put the steering wheel on, you know, and then sort of give it a little bit of a weathering. I'm not going to go too crazy. I'm just going to sort of get some dust on there. I may do that thing I said with the windscreen and put the dust the windscreen where the windscreen wipers have been, because I don't think it would have been too beaten up anyway. But I like the effect of the oil, the wash where it's gone around the doors and stuff. I also did it on the grille, and yeah, I think it's looking pretty nice. And then once it's matte coated and everything, then we'll take the masking off of these lights, and then we're away. So yeah, thanks for watching this part, guys. I hope you've liked it. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, and if you've liked it, please give me a like. Like I say, this won't be the next one, but I guarantee you the next one will be. I basically want to get a video out of this today, and I don't think these oils are going to be dry enough today for me to risk putting a matte coat over the top. I've also got to do a bit of work there. Like I've still got some oil there, some of the wash, so I need to attend to that as well. So we'll call that a day for this one. Part 15 will be the next one, and that will be definitely the last. To be honest, I'm looking forward to seeing the back of this. It's been a lot of work for what is a nice model, but you know, this much work, you'd expect a masterpiece, and I don't think it is by any stretch of the imagination. It's nice, but it's not amazing. It's not a showstopper, is it? So anyway, I'll stop being negative. I'll see you all soon. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.